Hi everyone, welcome to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us this Friday afternoon at noon as we kick off the start to your weekend. It's a little slushy here in downtown Providence. Hope folks are doing okay out there on the roads. We're going to kick off with who we usually feature each Friday, former state representative, former Deputy Secretary of State, now heads up Stages of Freedom, Ray Rickman, to give us Big View.
I've only smoked one cigarette in my life. I was 9 years old, and I stole it from my father. He smoked Campbell's, and not directly from him. It was laying around. I didn't have that much nerve. And I let my little sister, Ann, smoke a little bit, and of course she got sick, and she went and towed. Now, I don't think when you're stealing cigarettes and you're 9, you're supposed to share it with your 7-year-old sister, so I wasn't too bright on this whole thing. But it so got me in trouble, and I won't give the details, but never smoked again. No interest in it. And I always wonder, would that be the way to get teenagers not to smoke? Because what we have is all these multi-billion-dollar companies, $65 billion a year. We have them preying on our teenagers, and I don't mean preying in a positive way. They're getting them to smoke using menthols and now flavored e-cigarettes. It's really disgusting what they are doing. And so the number of smokers is rising again for the very first time. There are 35 million Americans, 1/3 of us, smoking. Smoking. You cannot imagine that. So we've had 30 plus years of fewer smokers all the time because we're a little smarter than the cigarette companies, but they are now outsmarting us. Now comes the Trump administration pretending to do something. And when I heard it on the national news yesterday, I got excited for about 2 minutes. I said to myself, the Trump administration is going to restrict these e-cigarettes to teenagers by making it very difficult for them to buy them. They have to go into restricted places in the stores. And of course, not the case. They haven't worked out the details. It's only an idea. Now, of course, CVS, our big corporation, did something absolutely stunningly wonderful, which we've probably forgotten, but they quit selling cigarettes. Now, I would love to see those other drugstores and the like quit selling cigarettes, and particularly to young people. Now, what have we learned in the last couple days? What I've already known, of course, is that their menthols cigarettes are a little cheaper than the other ones, the Camels my father used to smoke. Much cheaper. And so they run around the inner city and they sell them to Latino and black children in larger numbers than they do to white children. This is another disparity. You can't dream this up, that black people are more often asked to buy cigarettes than white people. The economics of it. So you need 2 working class or black children to buy cigarettes to equal 1 Barrington kid who would have more money and maybe buy more cigarettes. Who knows? But you can't dream up the racism involved in the promotion of menthols. NAACP, Urban League, and others have been pushing back against this for the last 10 years. I'm wondering if the Rhode Island legislature might step in and do something the Trump administration is only pretending to do. Cigarettes still kill. Particularly, you start smoking at 16, they kill you at 50.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for kicking off your weekend here with us downtown Providence. We're going to talk about an event in Pawtucket this weekend. So I'd like to welcome BJ Mansuetti with Narragansett Beer and Chris Daltrey with What Cheer. Thank you so much. Big event at the Guild, the Made on Honor event. So let's say who's going to kick off first, telling us a little bit about it. Maybe we'll just go left to right. So BJ, Narragansett Beer, it's going to be a big event.
It is going to be a big event. You know, just to back up a little bit, a few years ago, we had teamed up with Chris and What Cheer, and part of something that we called the Made on Honor series, which is a web series that we did online where we took a video crew into different small businesses, local makers and artists, and we just did like a little micro documentary on each to kind of show Rhode Island how many cool vendors and businesses there are. And actually that went on to win us an Emmy for public service campaign. And then we decided to actually bring all of those people under one roof to create the Made on Honor market last year. It's been a big hit for us, and we're sort of doubling down this year.
So tell us a little bit about the What Cheer portion of the program.
I mean, it felt good that like a bigger local business would think about community and kind of, pick people in their community they thought deserved some attention or recognition. And that's kind of how we've always felt with What Cheer, with local music and things. So it tied together really well. And it was an honor.
An honor indeed, and I love it's the weekend before Thanksgiving, because you're really sort of getting ahead of the holiday curve, and especially Thanksgiving, what better time to bring some beer to places that you're going? So what can folks expect from the Made on Honor? We'll provide the links, of course, on the site, but when you go to the Guild, especially at the Guild, they are kicking off their new beer hall, too.
Yeah, they've got the new beer hall downstairs. Last year at the Made on Honor market, we did everything in the brew house, which is where all the big tanks are and where the majority of the brewing happens. This year, we wanted to double up all of the vendors. Vendors they're all walks of life in a way, but the common thread is that everybody cares so deeply about the craft that they do. So you're going to find really high-end handmade wares that people really care about, or companies that have really put a lot of effort and thought into curating what's on display. They're going to be spread out all over campus, the beer hall, the brew house, our new event space in the back. We'll have them in the packaging hall. We'll have vendors all around the canning line. So every nook and cranny of the Guild is going to be used to put some local businesses in there.
And we've talked with Chris, you've been here multiple times, with being out and about now without that brick and mortar, but having to these events to go and feature, the What Cheer legacy continues to be in the community. So what can folks expect from What Cheer at the event this weekend?
Well, yeah, it's good for us to get out. We work out of the house now, so it's good to get out and see the people that we don't see anymore. But we've also branched into DJing events, so part of our participation in this will be spinning records in the new beer hall. And we'll have some stuff for sale as well, but just to be part of, again, like community and be there with people, and especially the Gansett team.
So I don't think I knew about the What Cheer spinning the DJ. Are you behind the turntable?
Jennifer and I. So
two turntables and a microphone? Yeah.
Yeah, we're the What Cheer DJs, and we do weddings and special events.
Oh, fantastic. So you're going to go, you're going to see great wares, you're going to have great beers. What's the latest at Narragansett? Fill us in a little bit about holiday season, kind of the offerings going on right now. Because let's be honest, when people go this weekend, there's plenty of beers to go around. And again, especially picking up just a few, bring to your relatives where you're going next week. But what's the latest from Narragansett?
So we've got, it's under wraps, but we've got, I'm going to share it with you guys right now. Haven't told anybody else. We've got a new beer that we're releasing tomorrow called the Original 6. It's a nice dry hopped lager that we're doing. It's only going to be available at the beer hall in the Guild for the coming months. And then our Autocrat Coffee Milk Stout is back, and we just re-released our Holiday Ale for a limited time. And then we've got all the standards, our Fresh Catch and the Lager and our It's About Time IPA. All that stuff will be available.
So I'm going to back you up a little bit. Talk with us about the Original Six, the name, the thought behind the process. What is the Original Six?
So when Narragansett was founded in 1890, we were founded by 6 German immigrants, and one of them, his name was Jacob Wirth, and a lot of folks know him from his famous German beer hall up in Boston. So it's a little bit of an homage to German-style lager that's modernized a little bit.
Very good. I always love having new news here. Of course, new brews, the Original Six kicking off in Narragansett beer, but you've got, as you said, it's only available at...
It'll only be available at the Guild. So you have to come to the market, and if you do miss the market, swing by the Guild afterwards. At any point, you'll be able to try it there too.
It'll be available through the holiday season.
That's it.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about the event itself. Is this a family all ages? Is it geared towards more adults being where, or, is it a mix of the two?
It's a little bit of a mix of the two. We've got things for everybody. I just want to go back and touch on something that Chris had mentioned. There's this big community of artists, makers, local businesses that do, work from home, and they're smaller, and they don't get a chance to, maybe network as much, and a lot of these folks get excited to just be under one roof together. So there's this one company called the Rocker Co., and they make motorcycle-shaped rocking horses for children. And
have you seen these, Chris?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. So they were at our last market with a motorcycle seat maker, Counterbalance Cycles, and they make leather seats. And the two of them ended up. Wes from Counterbalance are making the seats for the rockers.
Oh, fantastic.
It's just a great chance to bring businesses together, and then they often go off and collaborate on their own.
So the collision of folks together, especially creative folks, I cannot wait to see these little motorcycle rockers. Oh my gosh.
They're so cool.
Well, it sounds like there's going to be plenty at the Made on Honor event at the Guild this weekend. We'll provide links, so if you want some more information about the big event. But kick off the pre-holiday festivities. We're getting, the snow's on the ground, everyone's in the spirit.
Sure is.
If you're looking for some pre-Thanksgiving, pre-holiday fun, again, the Made on Honor event this weekend at the Guild in Pawtucket will provide those links for you. So BJ Manswetti, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Chris
Daltrey,
Daltrey, I appreciate it. Speaking of events, we're going to be right back here with one taking place the following weekend. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us for this Friday afternoon as we're kicking off your weekend. We talked about one event taking place this weekend. We're going to talk about a big one taking place next weekend. The Women's Expo here in Rhode Island with Pat Palino-Cruz. Pat, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
I appreciate it as you're getting underway,
Yes.
getting the final details together.
Yes.
You've done the Women's Expos before.
Okay.
And so
In many different ways.
So what can folks expect from this year's Expo?
Okay. November 25th is Sunday after Thanksgiving, 11 to 5. People line up at the door first thing in the morning. Before we even open the doors, there's a line. And they come in, basically goodie bags at the door. It is about 100 local businesses. So we're going to shop local on the Thanksgiving weekend. And it's everything women will love. So there's jewelry, there's fitness, there's wellness, there is free massage,
Ooh.
there is free Reiki, there's probably some food tastings and some cash bar. There will be about 15 seminars, and seminars for all different things. So we have the best speakers from around the state, and they're coming in to talk about what they know best, whether it's relationships or divorce, kids or fertility, whatever it may be, career. And they'll be talking about whatever different topics they have, and people can just come in and attend whatever ones they'd like. We have 2 fashion shows that go on.
Ooh.
I know, that's pretty cool. And just a lot of shopping all day long with about 100 vendors. It's awesome.
Well, this sounds like a perfect opportunity. The weekend after Thanksgiving, kind of twofold. You've probably been spending a lot of time with family, maybe even traveling on the road. So twofold, it's an opportunity for women to sort of take that deep breath and just maybe do something for them, do something with their friends, but really kind of get back to that center, and then also start thinking about shopping for the holidays.
Think about, they already are.
It's like the best of the best of all worlds. So you've kind of get that little zen moment of getting your personal time and personal space, being out to socialize with other women as well, and then do some shopping.
I tell everybody, they ask, what about Thanksgiving weekend? Is that good? I have been doing a show this weekend at this venue for about 20 years. That's how far back it goes. So we started as a bridal show, went into the Women's Expo, then it went into a holistic event. Now we're back at the Women's Expo. We've added in that fashion element and that cooking element back into the holistic show. And it's packed because the women are done. They're done cooking for the weekend.
Exactly.
They are done. I know I'm done. They're done cooking. They want to break. The guys are watching football. They just want to go hang out and shop and spend money. That's their thing on that weekend. So there you go. Come and join us.
And, it's supporting local as well. There at the Crown Plaza and being able to again network and see all the best that Rhode Island has to offer. I mean, that seems to be one of the highlights of it too. That it's like everything's in one place.
I'll tell you. When I have to think about what is the draw, is it a fashion show? No. Is it food? No. It's everything combined. And it is a draw because we are shopping and supporting local businesses. So every local business is inviting their friends to come along to the event. I mean, all of the vendors that are joining us, they have complimentary tickets that they're giving away. So if you look on the website and you want a complimentary ticket, find one of the vendors, find out where they are because they have some. And tickets are for sale at the door. We have some here, but we're going to figure out how to give some away with GoLocal. And it's just a great event. Everybody wants to hang out and be together and it's a girls' day. Not that men can't come.
That was my next question.
They can come. If they want to go, they can go. But it's a fun girls' day out, and we enjoy it. We have a blast. And like I said, for 20 years, we've been filling this room at this venue on Thanksgiving weekend.
Sounds like you're going to be pretty busy between here and next weekend. What is Pat Cruz going to be up to in the next week getting ready for the Expo? The last minute details.
Besides today, we at Sojourner House tonight, and there's a couple of masquerade ball. There's a couple of other things going on this weekend that I have to attend. But I'm getting ready for finalizing speakers, getting their schedule down, getting the floor plan finalized, electricity, tickets out to the vendors. So yeah, it's a crazy week for me.
Those last minute details to take care of.
Yeah.
Plenty of events going on, as we just had again at the Guild this weekend, the Maid of Honor event next weekend, the Women's Expo on Sunday at
Come
the
play with
Crown
us.
Plaza. Come play, and we'll figure out. Stay tuned with Go Local. We'll have some tickets available. So if you're watching right now, we'll figure out ways to potentially get them to you here at Go Local. So Pat Paolino Cruz, thank you so much for coming in.
Always a blast. Always a blast here at
It's
Go
always
Local.
great having you in, and we love featuring your events here, so thank you again. And don't go anywhere. We're going to wrap up here with Bob Wickham in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center, so we'll be right back. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Go Local News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in this slushy Friday afternoon as we kick off your weekend here. Featured a couple of events taking place, and now we want to tack to news, politics, and more with Bob Wickham, Go Local columnist.
Hello, Kate.
Thanks for coming in. The big news this morning, the intersection of news and politics, is that a judge ordered the White House to return press credentials to Jim Acosta.
Federal judge. One of the most interesting thing about that, the amicus thing was signed by Fox, too. Fox did not like the idea of somebody being kept out like that. I think they're worried that it could set a future president. What if there's a Democratic president who doesn't like Fox?
Yeah, it's interesting.
You know what I mean? I think they're really worried about. Also, Fox has been doing a little distancing lately. Have you noticed that? A little bit of not just Shepard's, but others. There's a bit of a,
I think press does tend to band together in these instances. You know, your competitors, obviously you want the scoop, you want to be there, but you're like, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't really smell right. Like, you can't.
Well, you don't want the president, so to speak, the president of the president, you know, keeping people from a public event, and that is the public's building there. And a press conference, which is really just sort of a, you know, an open interview with the president, should be, I think, protected by the First Amendment. Whatever you think of Acosta, who's certainly turned himself into a very oppositional figure. There's not. I mean, CNN is much more oppositional than it was 20 years ago.
No two ways about it. But you know, it was interesting.
You can blame a number of people for that. But yeah.
You know, it was interesting that the fallout from that altercation, that when the intern came over and tried to take the mic.
The phony video?
The phony video.
Yeah, Sarah Sanders, she's got to go. I mean, she's such a liar. It's just disgusting. I understand she'll be out by the end of the year.
Do you, are you a betting guy? Do you think?
I think she will be, and then I suppose she can sell real estate, you know, 20 miles east of Miami. You know?
Maybe Crystal City.
Yeah, I understand there's a big opening. There's this huge Nigerian gold coin company. I think should be great.
I was
PR
thinking
for
more of the Amazon HQ too.
Amazon H2, right? Yeah. Speaking of scams, right?
Let's tag to that. That was,
Yeah.
the big announcement this week, as I put in quotation marks, because it was kind of a foregone conclusion. It was sort of already leaked out that it was going to be Long Island City
Right.
and Crystal City. But we had Aaron Wren. It was
Very good. Yeah,
the
kind of an urbanist
with the Manhattan Institute. Amazon officially announced it on election eve. I mean, it's almost as if they really wanted to like sort of keep it under wraps after they, because people, I think, one of the things too, the backlash, and it was quite interesting that we see it here in Rhode Island when we talk about what's offered it for incentives for companies to come in, but now it's been really all over the news about what New York.
Well,
and
they were
DC
going to be there
are
anyway.
showing.
I think the whole thing was just sort of up the ante.
Give us
the
more,
national
give
search.
us
I think he was
more.
going to, and you and I have talked about that. I think they were going to put it there all along. Put it somewhere in New York City. I guessed maybe it was going to be in Williamsburg or something in Brooklyn, but whatever. Long Island City, that's fine. And somewhere in or near the District of Columbia. And there's a lot of vacant space apparently still in Crystal City, right across the Potomac from the Washington Post, which Jeff Bezos owns.
How
And you
convenient.
look at, there are a lot of techies in the area, especially Northern Virginia, a lot of tech people. And it's one of the places that Amazon can go to and not totally overwhelm them.
Yeah.
Even though I think the traffic on the Beltway is going to get to be even more exciting.
I've definitely seen a lot
And
of.
we've been on it. You and I have been
commentary.
on the Beltway with 4-hour gridlock. So I think it's my view and many others that they had chosen these places, these two places, a long time ago. They wanted to get market information.
And do some playing off.
Do some playing off. Raise the price, get the bribe higher. And I think the whole thing was sort of a scam, a legal scam, though. Jeff Bezos is a smart guy, so they'll be in New York. The other thing I think is something, this is more subjective, I think Bezos just wants to be in New York. New York in the Northeast, for all of its flaws, including the piles of slush we're looking at now, the Northeast is still the most important part of the country.
It's still where it's at. And it was funny.
Washington to Maine, the richest place in the world.
Aaron Wren's from the Midwest, and
Right.
he said, my personal thought was maybe they could, but put maybe a Columbus or someone on the
Columbus was
map.
good. Columbus done a very good job of creating a diversified economy. Columbus is probably the best example of the second-tier cities doing well. And they've been much more expert about it than, say, Rhode Island's largest city.
Well, he made the point, it's just further proof that the coasts sort of, rule the economy here, with, Chicago being sort of the aberration. But he said,
tech. And of course that's sort of the coast. That's the
North Coast.
Right.
But what he said, what happens to sort of the middle of America, and he talked about the sort of stratification continuing to occur, that the big cities get bigger,
Right.
the New Yorks and the
richer.
Bostons, and whether the Columbuses and the Providences.
Yeah. Well, Columbus done okay. I think there've been some, they realized there can only be a second rank thing. Providence is actually, the situation for Providence is slightly more complicated because it's sort of part of Boston and New York. I mean, it's megalopolis. Columbus is not really, Columbus isn't even particularly well attached to Cleveland. And so Providence, in their, they're pitching themselves, they have to pitch themselves as sort of a nodule on what you might call a 250-mile long city. So it's a little bit different, and it's the roads, the trains, the planes, everything going up and down the northeast corridor. So it's a little bit different, which puts Providence in a position to skim off some of the business, graphic design, for example. They could get some Amazon stuff. I'd be very surprised if some of those Amazonians end up in Providence. Not a lot, few hundred.
Amazonians.
Yeah.
They could end up here, but let's talk about some news that was released this week. It was the GDP numbers from Q1 to Q2 for 18.
Bad.
Rhode Island tied for third worst at 2.8.
Who was worst? I should have checked that out.
Delaware
Delaware, rich state.
New Mexico.
You can see that, poor state.
Now I'm 3 for 4.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, Delaware, that's interesting.
We talked with
I used to work there,
here
so yeah.
about the implications of this, and Len Ladaro at URI, who always calls it as he sees it. You know how he terms Rhode Island, philo, first in, last out.
Right.
He was apprehensive that this could be some indications, because not just these numbers from Q1 to Q2, but Q1 and Q4 of 2017 with Rhode Island being down. You know, he says that brings the baseline down, so you're already dealing with a lower baseline to begin with when you're looking at these numbers.
Could it presage a national recession?
Rhode Island being first and last out, he said, you know, Rhode Island tends to be about 12 to 13 months ahead of the rest of the economy.
Yeah, I think, and Len is very good. I know Len. He's very, very accurate, very predictable, and I think he's sort of bipartisan. He just looks at the numbers. I think the problem with Rhode Island continues to be they've still never recovered from their far too long dependence on old line factories, old line manufacturing, textile plants, and so on. The other thing is they're too dependent on low-wage service jobs. You know, healthcare, restaurants. We love restaurants and all that, but very few people are going to get rich waiting on tables.
That is.
You know.
For sure. So, you know, Len always, as he says, we need more due diligence. And it was interesting. I had the speaker here in the studio this week, and actually I brought up Len Ladaro's most recent current conditions index, and the speaker said, oh, I like to sit down with Len every so often and sort of pick his brain. And Len just continues to say we need more comprehensive due diligence outside of the realm of people who are going to tell you what you want to hear.
You mean due diligence in economic development?
Economic development
and what we should do to recruit companies, that sort of thing?
Those types of things, and not necessarily not inside government, not inside the Congress.
And you know, rather complicated, you know, should the minimum wage here be forced to be as high as Massachusetts? The trouble is Massachusetts is a richer place, so I wonder about that. The speaker was on this morning on the public radio. He was talking about, well, it should be somewhere between Connecticut and Massachusetts, but Connecticut, mostly because of Fairfield County, is richer than Rhode Island.
That's
so
true.
how much can the local, how do I put this, the structure of the economy take a higher minimum wage?
We'll see. It'll be very interesting to see what happens when the General Assembly goes back in. Obviously, you had that progressive contingent really go after the speaker, if you will,
on things like the minimum wage.
We'll see. You know, are there any shits to be had? Or you saw the cartoon last week of the stockade of those who had opposed the speaker. It will be interesting to see moving forward. But that's a little far ahead. Let's talk about what's on tap.
Well,
for
obviously, I sort of deconstruct a bit more the Amazon thing. Talk about that. There was an old story that I think may have been first reported by GoLocal about SAT scores down. I think the explanation there is more people are taking them. That means that sort of implies more poor people, more kids from less privileged backgrounds. They aren't going to do as well.
I think that the state had weighed in on that and said exactly. We've had more. There's more participation. It's not.
You get a wider socioeconomic.
It's not unsurprising that folks who might not have taken it before. But the key question is waiting on the most recent standardized test results, which were not released prior to the election. They said they're incorporating it in a bigger look. Now, out in Oregon, that was a big campaign issue for Kate Brown when she said her director of their Department of Education were not going to release them before, and they got forced to do so. It didn't end up happening.
Didn't someone sue to get them released? Public record?
It might have been the press pressure, but they did turn it, and they did release them. So it's a new set of tests. It's akin to the ones up in Massachusetts, so it's not what we had been taking the previous year.
And Massachusetts is inspiring. And the public schools in Massachusetts in many places were not very good up to 25 years ago, but you have to give credit to bipartisan effort by Bill, going back to Bill Well and so on. Now, arguably, Massachusetts has the best overall public schools in the country, including in rather poor towns too. Sure. Up like North Adams, and you sort of expect the public schools to be very good in the west suburban Boston, Wellesley, Newton. In fact, for a long time when I was growing up, I think Newton was considered having the best public schools in America.
What else we got on the list here?
Well, let me see. We have the Union of Concerned Citizens, who are sort of a lefty, very greeny. They're saying keep the nuclear power plants going. Don't close them, because if you close them, who's going to take up the slack? Fossil fuel. We're going to have to burn more oil, coal, and natural gas.
You pro-nuclear?
It's an interim, I think that's basically what they're saying. It's interim, and the wind power is gradually increasing, solar and so on, but it's going to be decades before they take up. they provide all the electricity that fossil fuel is now.
Very interesting.
So,
Well, we always
yeah.
have news, politics, and environment.
Yeah, it's
Any-
frightening. Well, I also just a couple of things. I'm not crazy about those signs in Providence of the warning, about the traffic. Don't go more than 20 miles an hour. Very hard to do. That's very slow, very slow.
The
But I
signs
will
are.
say, yeah, but it will. It certainly makes things safer for the kids, and I think it probably makes things safer for everybody else too. And I've noticed in my neighborhood over the east side of Providence, they have a sign that's rather threatening, menacing sign. It's
They're
like
big, they're
it's like you are now
fluorescent.
entering the Soviet zone. I sort of sense it's made things more relaxed in the neighborhood as people are just sort of schlepping along at 18 miles an hour.
Going a little bit slower.
And one kind of maybe a silly little seasonal observation, Trinity Square, I think they're too dependent on A Christmas Carol for their income. The other thing is I get the sense every year they go into contortions to make it different. I think I'd rather
Do you go every year?
No, I used to go all the time. Never again. Never again. No, I'd rather just read the book.
Busting out the Dickens. That's where you'll find Bob this weekend.
And do we have one more?
Sure
Yeah,
can.
Melania Trump. There's no reference in the Constitution for First Lady. The duties and the powers and the prerogatives of the First Lady.
You talking about the interjection with the staffing?
She fired somebody. Yeah, she fired somebody, a deputy national security advisor. Apparently, is utterly obnoxious, even by the standards of the people she's working with, which is extraordinary. I mean, she's been reporting to John Bolton, one of the most detested people in Washington. But I really wish the first ladies would butt out. Maybe in the future, I'd say the first husband, whatever, if that ever happens. Same thing. I'd say the same thing about Hillary Clinton. Very bright, accomplished person. She shouldn't have taken over the health care portfolio.
Well,
She wasn't elected, nor did she undergo the advice and consent of the Senate.
keep the official functions official,
Yeah,
apparently,
right.
is
So
what you're saying here.
I love her hat. Melania's hats are great, and she speaks fluent Slovenian. I mean, but there are limits.
Well, be sure to read Bob Whitcomb this Sunday
Okay.
on GoLocalProv.com. As always, appreciate your taking the time
Okay.
to come here.
See you soon.
Don't take out quite yet, because we're going to wrap up here.
Okay.
We're going to be back on Monday, of course, with Business Monday and some programming before the holidays next week. But be sure to tune in to Go Local Prov and follow us on Facebook throughout the weekend. I'm Go Local News Editor Kate Nagel.